Representing Texas's 36th district, Congressman Brian Babin. Congressman, thank you for joining me. So, Congressman, we grabbed a clip of your recent trip to the border. What's it like on the ground? What did you learn, and what did Border Patrol agents tell you?
Border Patrol agents are doing a fantastic job. They're batting with a short stick, however. The Biden administration has reversed policies that have simply opened our borders up. Policies that worked were developed by the previous administration and that absolutely had worked. They certainly had their challenges back in 2019, but the Trump administration worked real hard, and we had a more secure border in 2020 and the end of 2019 that we've seen in many, many years. And I saw some things on this trip, Stephanie, that were greatly disturbing. We went to a facility. It's called an EIS facility. It's run by the Office of Refugee Resettlement. HHS facility basically is who has authority over it. And clearly, the folks there did not really. I could tell they did not really want us to be there. And those in charge, they couldn't answer basic questions like how much it costs to run the facility. It was staggering. And the man in charge there excused this by saying that they were simply a contracted facility. It wasn't his job to know what HHS was spending on this. So we didn't know what the taxpayer tab was going to be. And there were over 4,600 unaccompanied children in this facility, primarily from the Northern Triangle. We asked a lot of questions about health and things of this nature. They do test for COVID every 3 days. The girls are getting pregnancy tested when they arrive, but they do not test for TB, which is a big problem. I'm a dentist. I can tell you that TB, antibiotic-resistant TB, is a real problem in this country today, and they're coming in over the border. They don't test for polio or for smallpox. There's no cameras, no surveillance cameras in the facility. We were stunned to see that. You'd think that would be a huge risk when there's girls and boys that are here. Most of these kids are 15 to 17 years old, and then what was really disturbing to us was they were farming these kids out to their so-called sponsors, family. Very many of them don't have family though. They vet a potential U.S. sponsor by doing what they call a home study. It entails an interview, but they don't even do conduct a criminal background check. And so it's just very concerning to see that we've opened our borders up. The American taxpayer is being fleeced. Basically, represent over 100 different countries coming in. And then we were not even allowed into one of the facilities, the El Paso Intelligence Center, which oversees a lot of the drug interdiction, FBI, the Drug Enforcement Agency. It is crazy that we, as 13 members of Congress, with oversight over this facility, that authorize it, that fund it, and they would not let us in. We went all the way to the Biden White House up to the top, and we were denied entry into this facility. And Stephanie, we came down here with a lot of questions. We know drugs are up. Drug seizures, some of the most dangerous drugs like fentanyl were up 600–800%. We wanted to see why. We had a lot of questions. We wanted answers to, and quite frankly, we were not allowed in. I toured this facility about 3 years ago under the Trump administration. Wonderful organization. DEA is doing a great job. But we left without being able to see it during the Biden administration with a lot more questions because we got no answers and weren't able to see it.
Yeah, Congressman, a lot to unpack there, but I'll start with the lack of transparency. It's astounding, as you've pointed out. And you know what really bothers me is I've been doing research and trying to figure out everything that's going on at the border. And you think these reporters, even the local news station, would be all over what's going on there. This is like the biggest crisis I think we're facing right now, among many other. But there's hardly any attention, so it makes you wonder what's going on out there. And the fact that lawmakers can't get into some of these facilities and that they don't have basic answers to the basic questions that you're asking, like funding and this and that. I mean, we need to know how much this is costing. We also would like to know where migrants are being transported to, and the young people that are being, quote, reconnected with family members. Like, who's vetting that? I mean, there are so many people coming across the border. It's impossible to believe that this is all being done properly and that it's executed properly. In my introduction, I was talking about the new central processing center that's going to be built. And so if you remember, I'm sure you remember, the Democrats, and they still call it kids in cages when they refer to the Trump era in immigration policies. But when they build these processing facilities, which is fine, like we need processing facilities, and they had those built during the Obama administration, they labeled it kids in cages. And so now they're building bigger ones for families, and the Democrats don't have anything to say about it. Congresswoman AOC still has not been to the border to shed tears with a photographer on standby. So where are they?
Hey, I'd ask the same question of our vice president. The president named her to be our border security czar, and she has yet to come down there. We actually invited her to come with us to our last border trip over at the other end of the state in the Rio Grande Valley in South Texas. And we saw facilities there 6 weeks ago that were just stunning, that had a maximum capacity. One facility had a maximum capacity of 250 unaccompanied children. There were 5,700 kids that were packed in there like sardines. And then a few weeks later, we're getting photographs coming out of that facility showing empty pods. And quite frankly, in saying they were doing a great job, had the situation under control, but those kids have simply been referred across the street, literally 50 yards away, to an HHS facility. And they're all over there now. So they don't have things under control. They've got an open border. They've done away with policies that were they were warned not to do so during the transition period between Trump and Biden. They were told not to undo, remain in Mexico, or the Title 42 public health restrictions. To continue to build the wall. And for goodness sakes, we saw, as you saw me in that clip, on that border, seeing there that the Trump wall was being built, and they've left gaps in it. And not only gaps, they've left gates that were unfinished. I actually talked to Border Patrol agents that had to be mandated. 2 Border Patrol agents have to be sitting and watching an open gate in this unfinished wall, when all they would have to do is just complete the construction of the gate so that it would close. And that would free up 2 Border Patrol agents that could go on the front lines and stop some of this fentanyl and cocaine and other deadly drugs coming across. But the Biden administration simply will not lift a finger to do that.
Well, the worst part is that it was already paid for. Like, that project was paid for by taxpayer dollars, and then they don't want it to be finished. And you're so right. When they need Border Patrol agents to be there to make sure that people aren't going through that section, that's a distraction. And also, this is where drug cartels and those who want to commit crimes or bring drugs across the border, it's a free-for-all for them because they know that the Border Patrol agents are overwhelmed. And we see story after story of federal agents seizing different amounts of shipments of drugs. For example, in the San Diego sector, they found a $2.5 million shipment of meth hidden in watermelons. So that's just the ones that they found, because all of these criminals are trying to take advantage of the border agents being overwhelmed. Luckily, they caught that shipment, but imagine all the shipments that are coming through.
Absolutely, and this is why we went down there to see the El Paso Intelligence Center, and then to be denied and come away with no answers to our questions, and simply have many more questions to ask, and wonder, what is it that the White House, at the Biden administration, what are they trying to hide? What do they not want the representatives of the American people to see? Those of us who have oversight over the facility, who fund it, who authorize it, and yet the administration would not allow us to go in and see it.